Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dynasty Wonderland podcast with me, the Matt Chatter Ryan MK, and as always, by my side, the salary captain, the March Heron, the one and only Aaron Stewart. Check him out on Twitter at AARonStew09. Buddy, what's up? How we doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing good, man. We're doing good. Everyone hates Mondays, but you, me, the Dynasty Wonderland, we love Mondays. We get to record. We get to talk football. Sometimes we have guests on, like we have a guest on tonight. You want to bring him on?
Yes. And so everyone knows, our guest tonight is a bit of a betting aficionado, going a little outside of the box here on the Wonderland pod. But dude's all over the place. Gridiron experts, betting pros, make sure to check out his stuff. He's on Twitter, MJWAGS, MJ Wags is how I'm going to say. 23, MJ Wags 23 on the Twitter. Mike Wagenman, hope I said that right. Welcome to the Dynasty Wonderland, my friend.
Nailed it. I think that was the first intro where someone pronounced my last name correctly.
Oh, excellent.
My Twitter handle correctly, and got all of my bylines in one full intro. Beautiful. Beautiful. That was awesome. Wonderful. You're patting yourself on the back, and it's well deserved.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And we're especially happy to. Well, I'm especially happy to have you here because you, as myself, bit of a puckhead, saw that you're a bit of a Devils fan. I like one of my favorite ESPN commercials of all time is the one where the dude's on the elevator and then it opens and he sees the New Jersey Devils mascot and he's like, going up, and he's like, nope, and he's like, okay, I'm not getting on this fucking elevator. So great commercial, Devils, good stuff. I'm an Avs fan, obviously had to wear the shirt tonight, but talk some puck with me for just a quick sec. Devils fan, how you feeling about your team, bro? And just NHL overall, we got another new team, the Kraken. Give me some stuff.
First of all, I looked at the calendar today, 5 weeks until camp. Can't believe it. Feels like the cup just ended. So excited.
I know.
Secondly, as far as the Devils are concerned, I don't think so. From a realistic perspective, I don't think this offseason could have possibly gone better if you just put yourself in the mindset of what you can expect from a team from New Jersey. We're not signing anybody big, but hey, we signed Dougie Hamilton. How about that? All right. Dougie Hamilton, the biggest fish in the pond. We signed it. All right. We signed Thomas Tatar. Finally got someone who could put the puck in the net. Still a ton of holes on the roster. Still in the hardest division in the NHL. Still don't think they're a playoff team, but we're moving in the right direction. And I love it. There
you go. I won't say I'm overly fond of what the Avs did. I feel like they should have done a little more. And really, maybe it's just bitter disappointment after what happened. I thought we were for sure going to the finals last year in the playoffs. I'm like, this is the year. They're fucking. And then Knights are a tough team. And that's the one team we're battling with. And they ended up getting us. And it's just like, fuck. And just so far this offseason, I'm not seeing how we got better, but maybe I'm missing it. We'll see how they always seem to play well, no matter what happens. So
when you have you have what? 3 of the top 10 players in the NHL, Makar, McKinnon.
That's my boy. I love Kale Makar.
Me too. But I think they got out toughed. Is that a word? I think they got beat up a little bit by the Knights.
Exactly. Yep.
And I don't think they got any tougher this offseason. And they also lost their goaltender. So I do think it's a step back, but when you have such talent, you're pretty much your ticket's already punched to the postseason. It's all about kind of taking that next step now.
You know, you make a good point with out toughed, if that's how you put it, because I've seen I spent some time living in Iowa, latched onto the Wild a little bit, had to root for them as well, and I kind of liked when they picked up Parise from after he left New Jersey and Suter. I kind of but they had some teams, man, that were really good, but then they'd run up against, a rough and tough team in the playoffs and get smoked. Their speed and skill and all of that went out the window because they were just getting jacked up all over the ice. And so I see exactly what you mean, because I saw a little bit of that last year against the Knights. Like, this kind of reminds me of that, where the Wild were kind of getting pushed around and out of their game. And so we'll see what adjustments they make. But yeah, we'll make it to the playoffs. It's just where we go from there. So we'll see. And I'm interested. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say you've got it better than most. We're still fighting for relevance, and you've already got your ticket punched to the postseason. So sorry to cut you off. Go on. My apologies.
Very true. And I'll also be interested to see what the Seattle Kraken does, because they put together a pretty solid team as the Knights did. We'll see if they can repeat their kind of success.
I like what they did on defense. I do think they might
They're
struggle
loaded.
a little bit to score. They're loaded on defense. And I do like that they signed Jaden Schwartz. I think they overpaid for him a little, but they needed him. But I do think I think they're in a very, very weak division. You know, they're with the Canucks and a bunch of teams out west. I really think they're going to have to screw up pretty badly to at least not be playing like meaningful hockey late in the season. But I really do think they're going to get into the playoffs. I just don't think they're going to make a run like the Knights, because I think the Knights picked up a lot of guys who could put the puck in the net, and I don't really see that from Seattle. I do see them keeping the puck out of the net, not so much putting it in.
For sure. And with the Knights, I couldn't believe the Wild let Tuck go. I was so shocked. I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And he's one of their top guys. I really like him. But
yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah. But in the words almost of Val Kilmer's portrayal of Doc Holliday, why, Aaron, why, I forgot you were there.
Well, and I gotta say, one of the things I've enjoyed about hockey is, so I'm in Texas. Obviously, hockey not so big around here because it's hot as hell all the time. But I have been to a couple of Allen American games, and I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I think hockey is kind of like baseball. There's like some minor league systems, right? Mm-hmm. And when I say Allen Americans, they're one of the minor league teams for NHL, but I don't think it's for the Dallas Stars. I think it's one of those weird things. Like they may be, I want to say Phoenix, or are they Phoenix, or they're now Arizona, aren't they? They used to be Phoenix Coyotes, but are they now Arizona Coyotes?
Yep. They are now the Arizona Coyotes.
Okay. And I liked it's a smaller venue, and you're just, no matter where you sit, you feel close to the ice. It was just so much fun. Like I didn't know much of what was going on, but you know what? The two games I went to, they won. It was a fun time. And I've been to a Stars game, so I've gotten the big venue feel. But to me, I like the smaller. I like the smaller venues more. I just felt more a bigger part of the crowd. You know, just doing the chants. Kind of learned those pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not like a diehard fan, why not get as close as you possibly can to the ice, right?
Exactly. So it's one. I think it's just more of where I'm at down here in the South. It's never really advertised much. Poor Dallas Stars. I can't tell you if they're good or bad. I think they had a good season, not this past season, but the year before.
Two years ago, yeah.
Yeah, like they're good. And the thing about the Dallas area with all of its sports teams is that for the most part, fan bases are pretty fair weathered. If they're good, they'll sell out the stadiums. If they're bad, no one's going to the games. And besides Cowboys, there really isn't a Dallas team that I kind of claim as my own. And the Cowboys is kind of chosen, forced. Like, if I could go back in time, like it's just what I've grown up with. So I'm not even a really good Dallas fan to begin with.
At least you admit it.
Yeah, like without fantasy football, I probably wouldn't care about the NFL. Because the Cowboys have always sucked. That's how I'm able to turn this from hockey back to football.
There you go.
But who knows? You know, with hockey, I'm always open to getting into a sport on that. But it's just here in the South, it's just not really advertised ever.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, from our perspective, we are the fourth of four teams around here. It's the Rangers, the Flyers, the Islanders, and then the Devils. So you might not, it might be kind of under a rock down there, but here we just get stepped on the whole way, the whole season. It's just like the Devils are on MSG is the channel, Madison Square Garden, MSG +2. They're not on MSG. They're not on MSG 1. They're not on MSG HD. They're not on MSG Plus. They're on MSG +2.
Oh, yeah.
For me
that
personally,
makes me want to be a fan of them.
For me personally, I'll take the Devils out of all those teams. Like, fuck the Flyers, the Rangers. I don't necessarily hate the Islanders, but give me the Devils all day in that area. So
and that's what I love. I love that, like, we get that sort of like little brother treatment where everybody's like, I feel bad for him. I'll root for him.
I just really don't like the Rangers or the Flyers, to be honest.
No, nobody but Rangers and Flyers fans like the Rangers and Flyers.
This is true. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to the foosball, the football. We got a little bit of news, maybe some random preseason thoughts. The preseason is underway, giving us a little bit more to talk about. But it also brings injuries, training camp, preseason. Here we go. Rashad Bateman out till September. Elijah Moore is injured. Avoided a serious injury, however, per Doug Kayid. I think I said that right. Also, not concerning, Darren Waller's injury. So, some injury stuff going on here. Another MRI for Dak. That's a weird fucking. We can get into that in a second. But you got a couple of rookies and Darren Waller. What's going on with the injuries? Are we worried? I mean, obviously, Bateman's going to be on the shelf for a little bit. I'm personally worried about that. I strongly felt Baltimore was going to step up the passing game this year. I was excited to see it. And you got to figure he's out till September. Then he's got to get back in the swing of things. They're probably going to have him on account when he gets it. I mean, this is almost a lost year for Bateman for fantasy purposes in my eyes. So that's a real stinker. But what are your guys' thoughts on some of the injury stuff as a whole? Mike, go ahead.
Oh, start with me. I love it. So the first one that jumped out to me was Elijah Moore. You touched on the rookie part. Losing reps in camp right now is critical for rookies. But the one thing with Moore's situation that isn't the same with Bateman's situation is he's also got a rookie quarterback. So it's going to stunt the growth of someone other than himself, someone the team invested highly in because he's the second overall pick. And he sort of pushed Denzel Mims down the depth chart. And Denzel Mims was the sixth wide receiver to check into the game against the Giants last week. I don't know why. He was the second round pick last year. But with Moore still out, this should be Mims' opportunity to step up, and he hasn't. So I think it's just sort of creating a whole sort of tornado around the Jets, which they do not need. They need Zach Wilson to kind of figure it out with the guy they drafted to be his number one guy. And this is just really valuable time, especially with one fewer preseason game that they are missing together. Not that the Jets had high aspirations this year, but it's still critical for their growth, and they're just kind of missing really crucial time.
And then I'll take the Dallas Cowboys here, of course, being the Cowboys fan. This is super freaking weird. Okay, like you don't just get an MRI. Like you get an MRI if you need an MRI. And then, of course, the Dallas Cowboys Twitter went, oh, it's fine. It's good. Like it damage control PR there. Super strange with that. Like I am absolutely fading Dak Prescott in drafts I got going on. Like I have it like color coded, like, so I know not to draft this guy, like have him there. So I know roughly where he should be going, but no, like this, whatever they said about the MRI is just BS. It doesn't, that's not how MRIs work. One thing I do want to add on the Jets side is like a player that admittedly I'm not super high on, but based off all the news with Elijah Moore, it's like you have to buy Corey Davis. Like there's going to be a receiver one there.
It's the only dude Wilson targeted in the preseason game.
Yep.
If I remember right.
Exactly.
I think he had the third most targets of any wideout in week one of the preseason or something very close to that.
And quite frankly, he's healthy. The Denzel Mims story just keeps taking turns because apparently there was a food poisoning, lost 20 pounds. So that's just
apparently got sick, lost a bunch of weight, and then now he was doing some first team reps. Maybe that was after Moore got hurt. So it's all weird because I was big on Mims too. So it was weird to see him so far down, and you figure, okay, maybe the sickness and stuff accounts for some of it, but you would think they'd get him right in there to do much more if he was if they were that high on him before the sickness. So that's worrisome. You got more and Mike, like Mike pointed out, like part of the appeal looking at Zach Wilson was like, okay, he's got some tools, but he's also got some weapons. Now the weapons, we got some issues there. So a little bit concerning, and definitely I'm with you on Dallas, man. Like it's freaky. I was big on Dallas this year. And if I remember right, the second MRI he's had on that. So it's like, what is going on here? And they act, everything's all peachy keen, like you said, but I'm a little bit worried.
Right. And I'm not a medical expert. I'm far from it. For transparency for people, what I do to make money for my day job is I do work inside an imaging center. I do IT work, but like, you get an MRI if you're looking for something. So you're right. Like a second MRI, what are they looking for? What could they not find before? So super weird. And then just briefly on Baltimore, like not only is it Rashad Bateman, but Marquise Brown's injured, and then Sammy Watkins, of course, got injured recently too. So it's just, oh my gosh, like the process was right for Baltimore in the offseason. Let's get our former MVP quarterback some weapons to throw the ball to, and then they've all gotten hurt before a single game's happened. So yuck. Jeez.
Yeah, yuck is right. And it also hurts from the Baltimore perspective that division is loaded.
Yeah.
Cleveland is good. Pittsburgh might not be as good, but Pittsburgh is still Pittsburgh. I still think they can make some noise. I don't think Cincinnati is very good, but I do think Cincinnati's a team that could play spoiler at some points. They're going to be able to score some points as long as they get their offensive line sorted out. So it's really not a good year to be a team who's sort of like in flux. And I don't think they're in flux, but I think these injuries are sort of just setting them back a little. It's just a really tough division for this to be happening in.
Right. Browns, baby.
So
I'm all over him. It just worries me because lots of other people are. That's the only thing that worries me. But this one's for Bateman. I know, Rashad Bateman. Okay. So the Indianapolis Colts, Ballard and Reich, extended to 2026. I like this because I like these guys, but I also want to see them do something. And to me, this is the quarterback situation. I thought last year with Rivers was fine. I didn't know what the fuck they were doing going with Carson Wentz this year, but okay, worked with Frank Reich. All right, let's see what happens there. Boom, injured. Surprise. So what do they do? This looks like they're set up. Hey, we're going to go get a rookie quarterback next year. And there you go. And so everything's kind of tied together. That's kind of what it says to me. I don't know enough to know, but that says to me they're going to be there and they're probably going after a young guy next year, and we'll see what they do after that. But this is going to, as we've talked about, Aaron, on the past couple of pods with everything going on with the Colts, they're kind of, they might be just a little like there this year, So, Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is like a move. It was long. 2026 is 5 years away. So I was like, what have they done? I'm not saying they haven't earned extensions, but what have they done to earn 5-year extensions? And I think I landed on exactly what you did. This is setting them up to now take their quarterback of the future, build their team. This is your chance to build the Indianapolis Colts. You've got this much time to do it. Go ahead and do it. I'm actually sort of like down on the Colts this year. I was down on the Colts when Wentz was here, and now I'm even more down on the Colts now that Wentz is kind of questionable. His prognosis has been a little bit more positive, I guess. They're kind of leaning towards closer to that the 5 than that ridiculous 12-week timeline. I've never seen a 5 to 12-week timeline in my life, and they have 2 of them. But yeah, I just don't really trust what's going on under center. It's the most important position on the field, and your quarterback you just traded for can't stay healthy. You haven't replaced him yet, and your only options are Sam Ehlinger and Jacob Eason. I took them under 10 wins before Wentz got hurt, and now they're under 9. Now they're at 9, and I took them again at under 9 wins. So hopefully my prognosis is correct, because I don't know. But like I said, I totally agree with the fact that this just screams to me, we're taking a quarterback next year, and if not next year, in the following year. And in turn, that screams to me, we're probably not going to win as many games as other people think.
Right.
I actually am pretty positive on the extension for both guys, because the situation with Ballard and Wright is they've been dealt such a raw hand, and it all stems back from Andrew Luck's surprise retirement during the preseason from two seasons ago. I mean, if Andrew Luck doesn't retire in the middle of his prime, my goodness, the Colts team that made the playoffs last year with Phillip Rivers in his last season, like that this Colts team would be one of the Super Bowl contenders there. Chris Ballard's done an excellent job of being able to get value. Does he nail every draft pick? No, there's quite a few misses in the second round, but he does tend to target the right positions. He's always going defensive line. Like there's so many second round defensive linemen there. And when he needs a big baddie in the middle there, he goes and trades first round pick for DeForest Buckner. Like Chris Ballard is like he'll get these guys. He'll find some guys off off like Taxi Squad or something like that and develop them. And that goes hand in hand with Frank Reich too. It's like the coaching staff has done an excellent job of kind of steering the ship there. I mean, how many teams can lose their starting quarterback in that Andrew Luck situation from 2 years ago and still be relatively competitive there with Jacoby Brissett? And then, you know, the QB situation, it's rough, but it's like the Phillip Rivers was just a stopgap. They've been trying to, there was never a long-term plan because it was like, oh, we've got Andrew Luck in his early 30s. We should be fine to have him, you know, for at least 3 years before you're even thinking about developing a guy. So it's just been raw deal after raw deal at the QB position. And right, like you don't solve the QB position, then you really can't go far. That's how you get beat first round in the playoffs there. But that's not really on Ballard. I mean, who the heck could have predicted the Andrew Luck retirement? And I think he's done such a great job of being able to not only get the talent there, but like he has a clear plan. And I feel like every time we have a podcast, I always go listen to the Decision Point podcast over on Roto Underworld with the non-named jury, but he actually does talk about the Colts there. And you got Chris Ballard that he's rolling over $30 million to next year's salary cap. And then the salary cap may spike up. And he's always getting the team competitive to compete now. Like even, you know, let's say that Carson Wentz, he comes back maybe in the middle of that. So let's say maybe week 4 or so. If Wentz can be just decent and just not screw things up, which in Philadelphia, that team was just crumbling around him. And you know what? Not every quarterback can be a Mahomes, can be a Josh Allen, can like elevate the talent around him. Some guys have got to have the team built around them. And with Carson Wentz, I feel like if he's got the stability there, you got solid offensive line, knock on wood, hopefully get Quentin Nelson healthy and everything. Like Wentz can steer the ship. He absolutely can. They'll be competitive. I could see him bouncing back. I will also say I'm with you guys when it comes to drafts. I'm fading players left to right with the Colts. Like, which receiver are you going to take? No way. Like Michael Pittman, I don't feel so good about that. But the 5-year extension, I think it's more of not so much like last season and, oh, they made it to the playoffs, got knocked out the first round. But like each year, they've gotten better and better. And that stability goes a long way. The organizations, the teams that are always making the playoffs year in, year out, teams like Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and what I expect for like Cleveland, it's stability. And so handing a 5-year contract there, that's going to make it a lot easier for like free agents to come in. And it's like, cool, our coach is locked up. He's not a lame duck coach. The GM's going to be there. Makes sense. If you're a fan of the Colts, I think you're ecstatic about that because the GM before Chris Ballard, oh, what was the guy's name? Ryan Grigson. Oh, he was super, super bad. But admittedly, I'm a little biased here. Chris Ballard is absolutely my favorite GM in the NFL.
Oh, trust me, I know. you ask Kiss often. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm not gonna be a Cowboys fan anymore. Colts are like close to Cowboys. I'm just gonna be a Colts fan.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't really root for any team in the NFL, just players. But this year, I'm going to be rooting for the Browns a little bit. I'm going to be rooting for them. Okay, Saints, Sean Payton, Michael Thomas, quickly. Productive meeting per Charles Robinson. Anybody care?
Has football started until Michael Thomas is angry at the Saints?
This sounds like there's some drama there.
Yeah.
All I think of. Oh, sorry. Go on, Mike.
No, I said, yeah. I mean, I saw a video on Twitter. Someone posted it and was like, Michael Thomas doesn't look like someone who's angry at the Saints. He's catching passes on the sidelines with his receiver gloves on. Just like, I'm not connecting the dots there. I don't know if he's mad or not, but I don't know how that validates one side of the argument.
I also saw a video on Twitter that wasn't related to Michael Thomas, but it was it was the fight at the Rams game. And what I think of, I'm going to tie this into the Sean Payton and Michael Thomas meeting, is like right as these sides are kind of cooling off a little bit, there comes the overweight woman throwing the Coke, and it's going to hit Michael Thomas, and then all hell's going to break loose. Because that's just what happens. At this point, everyone knows. You, me, the the person at the grocery store. Like they know that Michael Thomas and Sean Payton have had words, and you're just waiting. The media is not going to let this go. It's going to be a story all season, and like someone's going to just add fuel to the fire. And winning fixes a lot of problems. Like New Orleans has been winning a lot of games for a long time, but now Breeze, they don't have a quarterback. If you have a quarterback competition, you don't have a quarterback. And if you don't have a quarterback, we just talked about with the Colts, hard to win games. So no QB, they start losing games. And then all of a sudden, Michael Thomas can be like, oh, yeah, I don't really like it here. I think it was clear he didn't like it here when he waited so long to get the surgery. Like, that was super weird. Like, that's not an action of a person that wants to play football for the Saints.
And he's another guy that's going to be hurt for a while. And then he's got to come back, get back into it, blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, I think Marquez Callaway is going to be kicking some ass while MT is gone. So we'll see what it looks like when he gets back. Okay. Now, any preseason takeaways? We got to see a little bit of the rookie QBs. Any thoughts on what we saw? I know it's preseason week 1, but Mike, did you see anything that grabbed you?
Trey Lance is one thing. I feel like a lot of people aren't shining any light on him because he was 5 for 14 passing. It's preseason.
He had that one big play that everybody was in awe of.
The 80-yard bomb.
But he was otherwise struggled.
Yeah, otherwise struggled. I still thought he looked smooth. I thought he looked confident. I just didn't think he looked overly ready because he played one game in the past 2 years. I am hugely high on Trey Lance. I think he's got all the tools. I think he's got the offense around him. I think he's got the coach in place. I think he's got the team. I love him. I wish 5 for 14 wasn't his stat line, but I still think he looked confident enough. I think his arm strength was there. I think I've been watching his videos that have been posted in practice. He's dropping balls in the bucket from 40 yards out. I'm so high on this kid. It's unbelievable. I don't know how the Jets passed on him and took Zach Wilson. I'm not gonna get into that, but Trey Lance is just my guy. I love that kid. I'm really excited to see him work in the next 2 games, and I'm really excited to see him start week 1 plus 225 on DraftKings.
Aaron,
for me, love Trey Lance. I mean, that 80-yard bomb is all I needed to see because people forget last season he played half a game, like if that. So this was his first game in well over a year, really. So, seeing that 80-yard pass, I was like, that's all I really need to see. Yes, I'm with everyone here. I wish it was better, but I'm like, holy crap. Like this, if they can continue to prepare him, and they will, the Shanahan offense there, they'll coach him up. I'm like, yeah, that upside is real. I'm excited. I know it's a preseason play, but I saw that. I was like, how many quarterbacks can do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
But the other one too, the 101 pick, Trevor Lawrence. But I thought his performance was solid too, because whereas some of these rookie quarterbacks are going up against backups, Trevor Lawrence went out with the ones, and that was encouraging sign to see him be pretty accurate with the ball there. And anytime he connected with Chenault, I was excited. I'm excited for the future. I got them both in a Dynasty league. I am excited for that combo for many years to come. But the fact that he was out there with the ones and making plays and looking confident there, still some rookie stuff, but like all these rookies, I think overall, they all seem to be pretty solid. There wasn't one where I went, oh boy.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I was also looking at second-year players. I'm a huge fan of second-year players. When I'm in a Dynasty startup draft, I look a lot at second-year players. And I just really enjoyed seeing Quez Watkins just take off for that fucking touchdown. I just really liked that. I liked him and Hightower last year, and I was a little disappointed to not see one of them do more. And just to see that gave me a smile. So that's all I got to say, other than what you fellas said. So, yes. All right. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and get into this man's specialty, some betting chatter. That's right. I want to hear some more about I got to hear some more of what Mike has to say. So quick break, and we'll be right back. are back. Yes, we are back. And Aaron and I, well, we are here to gain knowledge, as should all of you be here for this, because we are no aficionados when it comes to betting or anything like that. We know the Dynasty stuff and a few other fantasy things, hence Dynasty Wonderland. This man, the myth, the Mike, this dude knows his shit. So Aaron and I, well, we become sponges. I like a SpongeBob, you see, a spongy like a SpongeBob, and we soak. Yes, we soak up the information, and that's what we're here for tonight. So, Gridiron Experts, mention the podcast, which features one of these fellas occasionally. You've got player and team future bets that Mike is on Gridiron Experts. Check that out. This is going to be a fountain of knowledge here, folks, so pay attention. We begin with the Denver Broncos. Upgraded secondary. Von Miller, Cortland Sutton have returned. Great offensive weapons. The over-under is 8.5 wins. Well, assuming this is due to the QB situation, and if so, exactly how much does something like that, the QB situation, impact win totals, Mike?
A lot. It's the most important factor in a win total, in my opinion. So last year, Patrick Mahomes was worth close to 5 wins. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is not Drew Lock, is not Teddy Bridgewater. So that's, the top of the scale. That's something that's not really reached by anybody else. Guys like Brady, Allen, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, those guys are worth 3.5, 4 wins, sometimes close to 4.5 wins if they have sort of like an Aaron Rodgers-esque 40 touchdown, 3 interception season.
Okay.
But then when you get around sort of the high to mid 20s, around like the Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold area of the quarterback rankings, that's when you start to get towards your league average quarterback. So if you were to take the most average quarterback you could possibly build in Madden and switch him with Daniel Jones, would the Giants be any better or worse? Probably not. They'd probably still be, in my opinion, a 5-6 win team, my New York Giants. And then when you drop down even further, some of the rookies who might not have been first round picks, some of the replacement level guys, such as we're about to talk about, Drew Lock, those guys are worth technically negative wins. So if you were to take an NFL average quarterback and swap him in for Drew Lock, my assumption, and most assumptions around the betting world, the Broncos would be a little bit better. So actually, in my opinion, they're a better team with Teddy Bridgewater than they are Drew Lock. But for the sake of the franchise, Drew Lock should and probably will be the starter because you want to see what you have with him. You invested a second round pick in him, etc. So on that, that's the key pillar of why I like the under here, aside from the fact that it's plus money. It's plus 110 right now. But the fact that Drew Lock is probably going to start, I think he has a negative impact on the Broncos win total, and I do like them under mostly because of that. The offensive line is not very good. I know they improved a little bit. They finished 25th in PFF last year. Their preseason ranking is 21st. Yes, it's a jump up, but they're also still in the bottom third of the league. So you have all those great weapons you mentioned. They have Javonte Williams, they have Cortland Sutton, they have Jerry Jeudy, they have all these guys they can throw the ball to. Noah Fant. But it's tough to get them the ball when there's someone who's below average throwing it, and then 5 guys in front of him who grade out below average protecting him. It's not an equation that really works out. And then the third factor is that division. That division, in my opinion, is very brutal. The Chiefs are it's 17, with 17 games now. The Chiefs are a 12-win team easily, probably 13, maybe 14. I'm high on the Chargers. I think the Chargers are at least a 9, probably 10, even 11-win team. And I think the Raiders are probably one of the best last place finishing teams in the NFL. I don't think they're very good, but I don't think they're as bad as teams that might finish 3rd and 4th in other divisions, like the Eagles and Giants, for example. So yeah, I think that's just a brutal division. I just don't see them winning 9 games means they're posting a winning record. And to me, there's no room for 3 teams with a winning record in that division. So at plus money, I'm taking that under.
Seems simple and logical.
Hey.
And while we're all here learning something too, for people that are listening that may not be familiar with betting, you mentioned the plus 110. I do a little bit of betting here, but I want you to kind of explain to the listeners there. What exactly does that mean? Like when you're placing a bet, you're talking about going for the plus money there.
Yeah. So what I normally, if you check out my articles, I'll usually refer to a unit as $100 just because it's round number. Now, if you're If you like to bet more than that, feel free. If you like to bet less than that, feel free. It's whatever you're comfortable with. But $100 is just a nice round number where we can calculate our profits week to week and not have to go through the nitty gritty. So plus 110 means if you put $100 down, you're going to profit $110. You'll get your $100 investment back and you'll make $110. Conversely, if it was a minus 110 bet, you'd be placing $110 to profit 100. So it's just sort of inverted. And in every scenario, you're obviously getting your initial deposit, your initial wager back. It's just the money you're making on top of that. So I guess if you want to just take another example. If someone was if a team was plus 250 for whatever the bet is, you put $100 down, that bet hits, you win $250 on top of the $100 you're getting back.
Perfect. Because I know that was something that confused the heck out of me when I was trying to learn this. I was like, wait, the underdog is positive point. Oh, it hurts my brain. But once I think it may have been you on another podcast that you and I did where you explained it. I was like, that makes sense. That analogy is perfect. So anyone listening that may not know much about like really any type of betting there, thank you, Mike, for kind of clearing up that confusion of underdogs and being plus.
100%. And what you can do is you can go into any betting app, DraftKings, FanDuel, any of those things, and take a bet. Don't log in. Pick whatever bet you want and type in the amount that you want to bet, and it'll calculate for you before you place the bet, before you even log in. So you're not tied to anything, and you can do the calculations sort of yourself, map out, how much you're spending and how much you're looking to make.
Awesome. I love it.
Very cool.
And you mentioned the Los Angeles Chargers, the one of the tough AFC West division rivals of the Denver Broncos there. You are super high on the Chargers, like you mentioned. In fact, there's a couple of player props that you like. You have Justin Herbert. There's an over-under of touchdowns at 28.5. There's Keenan Allen over-under touchdowns at 6.5. One of the things that caught my attention was just a very basic looking at last season. Both guys exceeded that last year. And then 2021, we know that now we have a 17-game season. Strikes me as really weird why they put their over-under as a lower number than what they did just last season. So what were your takeaways on that? Is that why you were like, I like that bet?
So it was one of the things. No, so it was one of the things that caught my eye. But one thing is, if it seems too good to be true, it usually is. So you got to dig a bit deeper. When I say if it seems too good to be true, it usually is. That's on the surface. If you do your research and you feel really confident about a bet and you think you have an edge, obviously place that bet. But if you're just looking at a number and saying, oh, Vegas made a mistake, I can absolutely guarantee you Vegas did not make a mistake. You did. So for Herbert and Allen, I think it's obviously correlated that it's your QB1 and your wide receiver 1. I think the loss of Hunter Henry is the big thing for Herbert. I know he is always injured, but I think in a lot of the public's mind, it's like, all right, he obviously can't throw as many touchdowns if he lost his second best receiver. In my mind, that doesn't make much sense to me. Jared Cook is not Hunter Henry, but they replaced him with someone, and he's still going to throw the ball. It's not just because Hunter Henry's gone doesn't mean that he's going to stop throwing the ball in the red zone. That's still going to exist. They're just going to find other ways to get other guys the football. The other thing is the sophomore slump. That's a real thing, of course, but it's also something that people blindly bet against. If you look at Kyler Murray, I think Kyler Murray is the best quarterback from the class prior to Herbert's. He had a 30% touchdown increase year over year. He had 20 as a rookie, 26 as a sophomore. So the sophomore slump doesn't apply to everybody. The guys who are really good figure it out. They get better. It's not a blanket statement that everybody goes through a sophomore slump. And then the two other things that are sort of, again, low-hanging fruit that people don't do their research on, new coaching staff. People will automatically pick up a new coaching staff and like, oh, there's going to be a learning curve. It's going to be a slow start. When you go from Anthony Lynn, the three of us could jump on the sidelines and it's an upgrade to the coaching staff. Okay. So that's a positive for both of these guys. And then the other thing is Keenan Allen's injury bug, which I still don't get. He missed I think he played 9 games between 2015 and 16, and he hasn't played less than 14 games in any other year as a pro. So this injury bug thing has stuck with him, and it's really only because of a year and a half's worth of injuries. So it's just this perception that's surrounding these guys. And Vegas knows that, the public it's on Twitter. People are always talking about it. People aren't going to do their research. They're going to kind of cling to these low-hanging fruit tidbits and nuggets and sort of bet the opposite direction. So in my opinion, I think there's positive aggression for both of these guys. I think Justin Herbert's going to grow. I think he's a 30 touchdown guy. I know I'm not one of them, but I know some people who place money on him to win the MVP at plus 2,000. I wouldn't advocate for doing that. I think it's a nice price, but I still don't think he's going to win the MVP. And I just think that these guys have an electric connection, and I'm just high on the Chargers as a team. And if they're going to get where I think they're going to get, these two guys have to be good.
Absolutely.
Go Bolts.
That kind of goes hand in hand. Oh, sorry.
No,
what you got, Ryan?
that's all I got. Go Bolts.
I love it. Like,
you know me, I
team
took
we all root for.
I took Herbert and Keenan Allen in the Scott Fish Bowl, so I got those two boys stacked in the SFB. So unfortunately, I also have Cam Akers. So that's unfortunate. But you know me, like them Rams. Aaron, keep going.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to mention too is like kind of that correlation to like people that read and follow Roto Underworld know that we're all super big on stacking in best ball. So like I like that in your, is it live yet or is it an upcoming article? I hadn't seen any notification that it went live, but like these were the Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert are part of your player prop bet, and I like that you targeted those two because it makes sense. If you're taking the over on Herbert, take the over on his number one weapon.
Exactly. It's exactly right. It's exactly the approach I took. And there was a lot more stats for Allen than there were for Herbert. Obviously, Herbert's been in the league for 1 year. But I thought Keenan Allen was severely underutilized in the red zone last year. He was 18th in the NFL in red zone targets. And yeah, there's about 100, 200 receivers. He's still in the top X%. But Keenan Allen is huge. Keenan Allen's a weapon. He shouldn't be 18th in the NFL in red zone targets. Right. And that goes back to what I was saying before with that coaching staff did not know what it was doing getting its best players in football. And I think this coaching staff was hired because the plan was you have to put your best players in the best position to win games. So again, it's just like little things like that where it's like there's no way that they can possibly be put in a worse position to win. And again, we'll probably touch on my win total bet and my playoff bet for the Chargers as well. But yeah, that's a big part of it.
So, and I noticed there was a lot of pro Chargers, and speaking of Keenan Allen and a dynamic weapon there, there's a young guy. There's a young guy out on the West Coast as well that I think in a few years will start. He'll be like Keenan Allen in that like year after year we'll like him in fantasy football. Will be one of those high picks. That's Mr. Brandon Ayuk. And for people on Twitter, I had to do. It was a little preview of what we'd be talking about. Put a little poll out there. I said, tell me how you feel about Brandon Ayuk in 2021. Ayukin or Ayuk or Ayuk. And so far, I think Twitter's pretty smart. About 80% are Ayukin. And
there you go.
There's a player prop for him. There's 875.5 receiving yards. And you took the over, and I'm super excited because that's one of my guys from last year. I'm going to hand it over to you. Tell me what you like, because I know people are going to go, oh, but George Kittle's back. Oh, but Deebo Samuel's back. But you are planting your flag on this, and I want to hear this.
And that's exactly why. So I think this total, I wrote in my article, which is upcoming this week, that I think the total is 100 yards, about too low. And I think the perception is Kittle's back, Deebo Samuel's back. There's not enough targets to go around. Well, the Panthers won 5 games last year, and they had 3 receivers with 850 yards and 2,000-yard receivers. Teams can do this in today's NFL. There's not enough targets to go around. Brandon Ayuk had 96 targets last year in 12 games. That's a lot of targets, and he only caught 62% of his passes because he was catching passes from Nick Mullins, who looks like me. Or I look like him. He looks like me. And other backups, and I guess Jimmy G for the first few weeks or whatever. He's going to be catching passes from Trey Lance now. That I expect that catch rate to go up from 62% to 65 at minimum, 66, 67%. He's going to catch more passes. And if he plays the full season, he's on pace for over 1,000 yards. He had 780 yards last year in 12 games. That's in 17 games at 1,060 yard pace. I just think it's too low. I think I think exactly what you said, Aaron, is what the public is thinking and saying, okay, Kittle's back at full health. Deebo's their number one guy. I don't think Deebo's their number one guy. I think Ayuk's the number one guy. And people are going to smash this under because they think there's just not enough targets to go around. It's too high of a number for 3 receivers to hit. And I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think this is a really, really sharp bet to take the over. You're trusting a really, really smart offensive mind in Shanahan. And you're trusting a guy who I love and we talked about before in Trey Lance, who's going to get him the football. Another thing I have here is He had over 90 targets last year. There was only one other player in the NFL who had 90 targets and played less than 13 games, and that was Sterling Shepard. So Kyle Shanahan likes to get him the football. He's going to get him the football this year, and I really think this is like far, far, far too low.
Love it. I mainly because the nickname Ayukin, like it's just perfect. It's just perfect. And I'll have you know, like Player Profiler absolutely supports that. In their projections, you were talked about, probably about 100 yards below what it should be. And Player Profiler, they got some smart dudes running some numbers, doing some projections. They have them for 936 yards. So yeah, like in that range, like like probably their projections closer to what you're saying of like it should be 100 yards more. So I love it.
It should
Ryan,
be.
Oh, sorry, Ryan.
No,
you got anything on this one? You join the Ayukin fan? You're not an
Ayukin
fan. Good,
dude. Even until Trey Lance takes over, I mean, Jimmy G's not god awful. He's a step up from Nick Mullins and them boys. So I love Ayuk, and I made a trade Cam Akers for Ayuk in a dynasty league, and that's just that. Some people, I know a lot of people are like, hang on to Akers, he'll be fine. Let's see how Marlon Mack does coming back from the same injury. In dynasty leagues, I hold on to running backs for a very short period of time. I know how shit works, and so as soon as that injury, year 2, I'm like, what can I get from Ayuk? Okay,
yep.
So there you go. That's my thoughts on Ayuk. Now, we move from the West to the East. Talk a little NFC East. There's a couple of teams that you seem to like in Dallas and Washington, and I must say we do as well for fantasy purposes. Tell us what you like about them, what you expect for 2021, some bets you like. Give it to us for the NFC East.
So for Dallas, full disclosure, this article was written on August 1st. Dak had no shoulder problems at that point.
So that's true. That does throw a wrench.
I loved him at that point, but let's use the case that MRI comes back clean. He is healthy. I love the Dallas offense. I think there's 2 bad teams in that division that they play 4 times, the Giants and the Eagles, that they're going to beat up on and score a ton of points on. I think that receiving core is ridiculously dynamic with Lamb, Gallup, and Amari Cooper. And I think I think people are also sleeping on Zeke. I think Zeke is still a guy who should be taken in the top 5-7 of fantasy drafts. I just love that offense, and I think 1,500 is way too long of odds to have on a team who's favored to win their division. Taking them to go to the Super Bowl at plus 1,500 is something I did. I'm not saying they're my pick to go to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying it's a value play. They should be way shorter odds. The Seahawks are plus 1,000. The Rams and the 49ers are plus 650. That's 3 teams from the same division that are all grouped in this pack.
Right.
That is an actual mistake. Those teams are going to beat up on each other, and there's no reason they should be packed together. The Bucs are plus 275. There's no value left there. And the Packers are plus 600. If you take the Packers at plus 600, I'm not going to argue with you betting against Aaron Rodgers. I'm an Aaron Rodgers guy. I'm not going to argue with you. But like I said, that Dallas offense is way too good to be plus 1,500 to win the NFC and make the Super Bowl. And the other team you touched on was Washington. And I'm a Giants fan. I'm going to say I love Washington. I really do love that defense. I love what they did on offense. I think they upgraded the receivers. Mm-hmm. Samuels, I love the fit Samuels and McLaurin. McLaurin's been taking on double, triple teams and still catching 80, 90 balls a year. I think that's going to take a lot of pressure off him. I even think Adam Humphries in the slot is a guy, like, I know he's not like a dynamic receiver. He's just your typical slot guy, but I think it's someone that can finally plug in who's not like Steven Sims Jr. or Cam Sims, someone who can actually like run some of those underneath routes. And I think Fitz is actually, Fitz isn't really perfect for any team, but I think this is like a sort of a good fit for Fitz where he doesn't, like with Miami last year, he was good when he played with a good defense. I think this defense is going to carry them enough where Fitz can kind of just like do his thing. If he turns the ball over like he's going to, the defense is going to bail them out a lot more than his teams of the past have. I love this defensive line. I think the defensive line is the best in the NFL. And I think they have one of, if not the most dynamic defensive players in the NFL in Chase Young. So I just love this team. I think they're severely undervalued. You got to remember this last year was Rivera's first year as the head coach, right? They finished the year 5-2. I know that division was a joke. I know a lot of people were making, NFC least, NFC is the worst division, whatever. They finished the year 5, last 7 games, they won 5 of them, and they lost to the Bucs by 8 points. Nobody else besides the Packers lost to the Bucs on that playoff run by that.
Right.
Sure. And they did it with Taylor Heineke. So that team comes to play. Ron Rivera is a good coach. That's a good defense. And I took them to make the playoffs. I forget what I got them at. I think I got them at plus 135. Yeah, at plus 135, I took them to make the playoffs. I think there's room for them. There's 3 wildcard teams. I know there's, like I said, out west, the teams are going to beat up on each other. One of those 3 teams, in my opinion, is not going to make the playoffs because that's such a hard division. And yeah, I'm just high on Washington. And like I said, if Dak's MRI comes back clean, that Dallas offense is going to be insane. But Washington, no questions right now, and I really like them.
I love Washington too, and I like the offense, the defense. I feel like you left out my guy Logan Thomas, but I'll forgive you. But Adam Humphries is interesting because I'm actually a fan of Adam Humphries, and I remember back when he was a free agent, and people just figured he'd go play with Tom Brady and the Patriots because he's a little white dude, and he ended up in Tennessee, and I actually had him in a few dynasty leagues because I thought, hey, they could use some receiving help there, and nothing. So this is an interesting one, and you read reports that Fitzpatrick has kind of got a little bit of an eye for him, so that's good news. I dig me some Adam Humphries. It is funny that he didn't want to go to the Patriots because he was worried about how long Tom Brady was going to be there, which it sounded like an age thing. But regardless, Tom Brady is no longer there. No, he just won a Super Bowl with Adam Humphries' original team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Kind of funny.
Yeah, it's funny how life works, huh?
Right. Aaron, did you have anything to add real quick?
Well, and just one more thing, too. Not only is Tampa Bay Humphries' former team, but it's also Fitzpatrick's former team. They were teammates in Tampa Bay. It all comes full circle.
That's right.
No wonder. I forgot about that.
Well, it's easy. I mean, Fitzpatrick's plays for a new team every 2 seasons, so it's hard to keep up with all of his
That
teams.
is true.
Honestly, I had forgotten, I think, until the preseason game for Washington. And they happened to mention that. I was like, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot.
Mm-hmm. And nobody's mentioned Antonio Gibson, and that guy is going to have a year.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. From the NFC East to the AFC East. You got the Buffalo Bills in there. Seems like you're thinking some easy money, man. Bills over
easy.
11 wins. Win the AFC East. Now, I do got to say, I like what they're doing in the AFC East. I like what the Dolphins are doing. I could see what the Jets are trying to do. You know, the Patriots are going to start getting back in it. I actually really dig some Mac Jones. I just think we're going to see a lot more of him next year, and we'll see a better Patriots team next year. But yes, for this year, unless there's some sort of cataclysmic falling off the cliff, the Buffalo Bills are the cream of the crop. Exactly. Easy money. The Pats under 9.5 wins. I like that as well. So yeah, the AFC East all together. You got some easy money there. I agree. What you got to say?
So Buffalo, I think the common misconception around what's going around with Buffalo is exactly what you said, is that everybody improved. The Patriots had a massive offseason. I thought it was a little bit of a misguided offseason. The Patriots had a massive offseason that caught a lot of people's attention. The Dolphins have been everyone's darling. They were everyone's darling last year. This team's going to be better next year. They're going to be better this year. They, of course, got better, and the Jets couldn't have got much worse, so they got better. The problem is none of them got good enough to challenge Buffalo at the top of that division. You can get better all you want, but they're still not good enough to hold Buffalo. I think Buffalo's going to go 4-2 at worst, probably 5-1 in that division.
I think the Dolphins could maybe take them once.
Exactly. And I think we're on the same page there. I don't think the Jets are going to challenge them. And like I said, I just don't think the Patriots offense is going to be able to keep up. The Patriots defense is fine. I don't think the Patriots offense is going to be able to keep up with the Bills offense, which was the second best offense in the NFL last year. And they play the ninth easiest schedule in the NFL this year. For a team that good to play the ninth easiest schedule in the NFL is a huge, huge advantage. And then, speaking of huge advantages, fans are back. And does any team benefit from fans more than the Buffalo Bills? Probably not. Maybe the Chiefs.
Vikings are pretty close too.
The Vikings are pretty close. Yeah. And as was the case with Dallas, I know I took the Bills to win the AFC and get to the Super Bowl. Everybody's going to be like, well, but the Chiefs still exist. I get it. Again, it's a value play. They're plus 650.
Right.
They played the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game last year. Of course, they were very minimal fans. They play them on Sunday Night Football in Week 5 this year. So that's two primetime spotlight games against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. If they make it to the AFC Championship game again against Kansas City, there's going to be no shell shock factor. There's going to be no, bright lights, spotlights, any of that stuff. They're going to be ready. This is going to be there. Even if they lose, they lost one. Even if they lose in week 5, they're going to be more prepared. And this is a team who can score with Kansas City. It's just about getting that key stop on the road and like sort of controlling the clock. So again, like gun to head, am I going to say that the Bills are a better team than the Chiefs? Probably not. But at plus 650, it's really hard to pass up a team that's this good.
I love all that shit. I really do. I didn't know they had the 9th easiest schedule. That's fucking insane. Okay, Aaron, did you have anything to add?
It's always important hearing about these odds because, yes, it's like, as you mentioned on the surface, it's like, what, you're taking the Bills with the Chiefs exist, but mentioning like plus 650 is huge. That's huge. I did not realize that that it was plus 650 for the Bills that I think people would safely say are the second best, easily the second best team in the AFC, and really not that far from the Chiefs. Really not that far.
No, and the Chiefs defense is scary in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
I know they improved a little bit. Like I know we've seen DeAndre Baker making some news about it, in his first preseason game. And I know that the Chiefs, but that defense was not very good. And that Bills offense is really, really, really good. Oh, and you touched on the Patriots. I didn't touch on the Patriots. Patriots under 9.5 wins.
Yes.
Like I said, I thought their offseason was a little misguided. I think they're trying to recreate what they had with Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, obviously by signing the 2 tight ends. But I think you hit it on the head when you said Cam Newton's going to get some snaps this year. Mac Jones is the next year. They're going to be good next year. And I think that number is really high because people are like, I'm not fading Bill Belichick. I'm not fading the Patriots. The Patriots aren't going to have a losing record 2 years in a row. These aren't the same Patriots. The Patriots going through a transition. And I think that number is high because people have that conception of there's no way they're the Patriots. So taking the under there, again, I believe it's at plus money, is just the way to go for me. I don't think as was the case with the AFC West, I just don't think there's room for 3 teams with a winning record in that division. And I think the Dolphins are the other team that gets the winning record with Buffalo.
I agree. And we heard Belichick last year. I mean, he was talking about how they sold out to win as many Super Bowls during that stretch as they could. And it wasn't going to turn around and be great all again after just 1 year. Like, I think they're on the right path. I kind of like what they're doing. I think Bill loves him some Jonnu, and I think they'll get Henry involved too. But I really think it's like I said, it's going to be a matter of what's Mac Jones look like, and if he's the real deal, this is going to be an interesting second half of the season for them. But otherwise, it's more looking forward to next year.
Yep. And when you're looking forward to next year, you're not going to have a winning record. And this taking the over here means you're going to have a winning record. So another reason I like the under.
Yes. And that process made perfect sense to me. I know initially when I looked at that, I was like, man, I don't know about the under. And I know it's because I'm conditioned. It's the Patriots. It's
exactly
like they're going to have a winning season. And it's like they do have Jonnu Smith and he can carry that team until, carrying the team led to him spraining his ankle. So now I'm very much on board. But I like that you talked about there's 3 tough teams in that division that could, in theory, have winning records, but it's so rare that 3 teams in a division have a winning record. And I'm with you. Obviously, the Bills and then the Dolphins have been trending in the right direction for 2 years now, while the Patriots have been going in the opposite direction for 2 years. So, that to me, that after you explain that, it's like, that seems to be easy money. I know when we stop recording, I'm going to put some money in on some of these bets because I feel confident that it's going to – maybe I do this massive parlay. No, I can't do massive parlay. You'll lose all your money doing that. But, I feel like putting some bets in. I feel with all this input from the betting expert here, the betting expert of Dynasty Wonderland.
I'll take that title.
That we can make some good money. So
there you go. I mean, and one thing as a closing note, I guess, to be careful of is that extra game. It giveth and taketh away. So for teams like Buffalo, that extra game, it's like, wow, they have an extra game to gain that 11th, that 12th thing to hit the over. But you also have to be careful with teams like the Patriots, where a lot of people, like you said, you're conditioned to think the Patriots are going to win. So in a lot of people's minds, like, oh, the Patriots have an extra game. Of course they're going to get that 10th win. But no, that's also an opportunity for the Patriots to lose. So you have to sort of strike that balance where is this a good team who's going to take advantage of that extra game, or is this a team who's sort of middling, might not make the playoffs, who's sort of in sort of a transition, who's going to take that extra game and instead lose it?
I like it.
I do too.
Always
Fucking
learning stuff here.
fantastic podcast. I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot. We sponged it up, didn't we, SpongeBob? We just sponged it all up, all that betting knowledge. That's the good stuff. All right.
Love it.
All right. Any final thoughts from either of you gentlemen?
No, sir. Just a big thank you to you guys for having me on. Appreciate it. And looking forward to chatting with you guys throughout the season.
Love it.
Hell
love
yeah.
it.
That'll be awesome. And thank you for joining, Mike. We do appreciate the man, the myth, the Mike. That's right. We were definitely excited to have him on. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Don't forget, MJ Wags23 on Twitter. Check out Mike's stuff. Future bets, player future bets on Gridiron Experts. Check his stuff out. Know where to find me and Aaron. Until next week.